Welcome back to the Unarmored Talk podcast. Again, if this is your first time listening on audio or watching on my YouTube channel, welcome. And for the longtime listeners and viewers, thank you for the past 5 years as we get ready to turn and go to year 6. And I'm still your host, Mario P. Fields. And this special episode is a part of our collaboration. So it's a special collaboration with an amazing organization called Bow Timers. And the framework, the series is called Turning Surviving into Thriving. You guys can check, if you didn't catch that first episode with Dr. Solomon, please check it out. And it's mainly focused for folks that are 50 and above. However, these episodes can be applied to any human on earth. And today I have an amazing, an amazing group of women, if you will. That's two, not a group, by the way, but that's Heather and Barbara, mom and daughter team. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Hey,
you. Good to see you, Mario.
Good to see you both. And Heather, welcome back from your travels.
thank
You,
you. Yeah,
glad
and
you
just
had
got back from Ireland. It was very nice.
safe travels. Matter of fact, Ireland, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers just played over in
Yeah,
Ireland, if I'm
they're
not
trying to have
mistaken.
the NFL over in Ireland and get Ireland into American football, I guess.
Oh.
They did well. Again, Barbara and Heather are amazing both timer coaches, and they do more than just that. So, Barbara, if we can lead off with you. If you tell listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, as far as my work, I've been for more than a decade doing executive coaching with entrepreneurial leaders in businesses of many different sizes and many different ages. And truly, as I'm aging in my career as well, and making decisions about different phases, what's next and how to prepare
Mm,
myself. And I think one of the most important pieces is listening to my own life,
mm,
right? And seeing where I'm at and all different pieces of that. And so, we've really been, Heather and I both as a coaching team and separate in our coaching styles, have been finding clients more and more in really positions that we're talking about. Yes, over 50, but even younger than 50, finding themselves in a transition, a
mm.
moment of change on the outside that we need to respond to and getting to that self awareness. So I'm working on more self awareness about myself at this phase of my life.
Wow. And Barbara, 10 years. Everyone, that's not an easy milestone to spend helping people. And so, Barbara, I want to applaud you for just dedicating your life to helping other humans become a better version of themselves. And like you said, now what about me, Barbara Schindler? Right? What about me?
Right.
Eh, that is cool. And Heather, how about yourself?
Well, you mentioned this theme, Mario, of from surviving to thriving. And this is something that Barbara and myself are extremely passionate about in what we coach and teach, because you have a choice every day in how you go through this experience of being human. And we can either be surviving or thriving. And as coaches, what we do is we work very hard every day to help people be more empowered so that we can be setting them up to be thriving, right?
Mm,
And there's more and more challenges, it seems, these days. I mean, I feel like life has never been easy breezy. There's always been challenges, right? But it seems like there's a lot of challenges these days. It's a great time to get coaching support and have people in your corner. That's why we love this community we're a part of with Bold Timers, that's offering support to people in later stages of transition, helping them have community, helping them to think through what do they want to define for their life in these next phases,
mm,
because we can either go through life where we're just kind of accepting what's happening and becoming resigned and stagnant, or empowered and therefore thinking for ourselves and getting creative and defining what do we want to create for ourselves in these phases that are still coming forward in our life, right? And we
Yeah.
can have empowered aging. That's what I want for people. And that's why I'm passionate about what Barbara and I are doing with Bold Timers.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love it. And listening to you both, the question is, let's jump right into the topic. And then, the question of what's next? You're in your 40s, 50s, 60s and above, and you've achieved some things, and you're going, what's next? And so, Barbara, uh, we'll start with you. Can you talk to me a little bit about when you had a what's next moment?
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm going to lean into the current times. Okay. I've had many at this point in my 60s. I've had many what's next, right? Moments. And they're often led, I get there by being like, oh, it's not going the way I thought. Or, oh no, where do I go from here? It seems to be not open this path I thought I was on, right? Because you get something happens on the outside that kind of changes Barbara's plans, right? And, in that ultimately, I've always had this idea of aging joyfully and joyfully, not just like having a good time, but like I've always had this image. And whenever I've met particularly women, but I've certainly met men in their older ages. Again, I'm in my 60s and I'm talking about maybe when they're in their 90s, maybe their 80s, like, really being able to be authentic
Mm.
and alive, thriving. And that, like, more than anything in my life path, has been like the vision for me, right? Like I have family vision. I love being a mom and raising a family. I love my career and helping people. When I was 50, I did go to, was okay. One of those moments was like, oh, wait, I never did do the college thing I was going to do, right? Kind of dabbled with it. So when I was 50, that was what's next. I went and finished my bachelor's degree
That is
and
cool.
then did two master degrees, right? And that changed the course of my career where I could focus on another credential that could bring me forward into the work that I really desire to do at that phase and beyond.
Barbara, how you mentioned the external factors, all those things that are out of our human control. And hell, you inspire me. I'm 3 classes from my bachelor's, and I'm 50. And
Okay.
listeners and viewers, and I'm going to go get it. But listeners and viewers, as you guys heard Barbara say, just because you're 50, or I don't care if you're 12, but regardless, you get to that what's next moment, and just do it. Just do it. And then Heather, how about you? And by the way, before I get to Heather, everyone, if you get on a YouTube channel, Barbara does not look like she's in her 60s. I told her this the first time I met her. And so
Okay.
she had a vision of aging gracefully on the outside, and she's achieved that. And
Working
so
on it.
and Heather does not look her age. I won't say her age, but she doesn't look it.
Thank
What's next, Heather? What was your what's next moment, and how did you navigate it?
Well, I had a time where I went back to school as well, and I transitioned my career when I turned 40. And that was when I retired from pursuing my career in the performing arts, which took me from small town Vermont to New York City to LA. And it was a hard path. And it was creative and fun and brought me some kind of opportunities, but it never really flew into a bunch of open doors and big expansive things happening, right? It was a hard
Mm.
path. And so I found myself going back to school myself and graduating when I was 40 and having this master's in spiritual psychology and ending up then going and looking for a job to become a coach. And then I got connected through somebody else and ending up with this career being a business coach and becoming a program director of a year-long leadership development training program. And what was strange about it was, as a little kid, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I found myself being a teacher of adults and teaching them things like delegation and all of these other things that I never envisioned teaching. But there I was, a teacher,
Right.
and that little child vision came to fruition in this other way. And there I was teaching because I was entrusted with this leadership program, given it to lead and develop and continue, right? And then a year ago, when my former employer decided not to continue that program herself, that's when I launched my own business in partnership with Barbara. We have our business, Empowering Leadership Teams, and kind of kept that going. But that's what happened for me at 40 when I transitioned out of the performing arts and found myself in this world of being a business coach, which is something I never planned on. But I met amazing people working inside of
Mm,
entrepreneurial businesses, people that gave their whole hearts working for these companies, believing in these missions of these companies,
Mm.
and just worked so hard. And yeah, and just there's no other way to say it, but like gave their whole hearts to what they were doing and believed so passionately and gave all of their creativity, all of their, best thinking to these companies. And I loved supporting them to continue developing and doing what they were doing. And so that I grew to love being a business coach, which like is one of those things when you're a little kid, I don't know, you don't really dream of doing.
you're like 2 years old coaching Mario at the Kool-Aid stand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
My English is not that good. I'm two, but here's some tips. But uh,
Maybe these days with with little kids seeing that online and stuff, maybe that is a
yeah.
career they might want to pursue.
Maybe.
And the key denominator listening to you both is your attitudes. Very positive attitudes. I'm sure that there was some fear, some doubt, some anxiety at your what's next moments. And then the other thing, just listening to you both, is surrounding yourself around intentionally surrounding yourself around people who are passionate, who are positive, and who are going to enhance your what's next moment. Over to Barbara, how critical do you believe it is to have a network of friends, family, neighbors, whatever, to help you navigate your what's next moment in life?
Mm. Yes, it's highly important. Definitely, and from my perspective, and finding uh, that I don't know, people, you say, finding your peers in your work career, finding those neighbors. 4 years ago, I moved to Vermont, and I had lived in Vermont before, not this particular area. So
Hmm.
I didn't know anybody. And I probably spent about a year because I do work as a coach virtually and I work from home, right? So it took about a year before I was like, Barbara, you got to get outside and meet the neighbors more. Maybe I knew my immediate neighbors, right? Like I got to go find my people. And we actually, really that sense of belonging. I honestly remember coming that first year and like I didn't know anybody and I just felt out of place. I'd go, grocery store, different places around town, and I didn't feel that sense of belonging. And I couldn't even fully identify the uncomfortableness until I started being like, okay, I've got to get out of the house and connect with people and, find people of like interest. Of course, that's a good path to follow. And now I have that network of people. And it really makes a difference again for sense of belonging. And if there's any a day that like I'm like, who am I and what am I doing? I can anchor it with someone close to me. Certainly family
That's
and friends and but even community is
Yeah.
really, really important.
And then Heather, here you are going from performing arts, in your 40s from Vermont all over the world, if you will, primarily the East Coast. How about yourself? How critical, and you mentioned, those entrepreneurs, very passionate. How critical do you believe that was for you?
I think sense of community is so important. That's why it's
Yeah.
important with the bold timers community where they're trying to create community to support this idea that you have next phases to be alive in and keep being alive in, right? And in the leadership work that we do, we have communities for those entrepreneurial teams to meet with other entrepreneurial teams, because you need community that have the same experience as you, that deal with the same challenges with customers and with CEOs, and that know how to navigate that, right? You need people reflecting back to you, you're not alone in this. And that's where having coaching support can really help as well, right? To get that tailored like support that can reflect to you. As a coach and as a teacher too, I often tease people I work with and say, if I have a keynote slide about it, like I have a graphic to show you, then it means you're not alone, right? Because I've created a graphic and a teaching around it, because there's so many people I've met with that have dealt with the same exact issue. And I think that's very comforting for us as humans, right? We're all more alike than we are different, and we're all going through struggles that are very much similar and overlap, and community helps us remember that. And that is comforting and gives us strength in challenging moments, I believe.
Yeah, I love the energy, and like you both have mentioned in different ways, it's not over. It's not
No.
just because you're getting older. Oh, it's over. I'm 50. Oh, I'm 60. It's over. No, I mean,
You can really
again,
believe that or not at any moment in time in your life.
yeah, right. And
Really.
I love how you both have presented that. No, no, it's not over. Matter of fact, let's thrive. Let's turn it up. Let's turn it up, whatever that may mean. Last thing I want to discuss is, and again, Barbara first. If you had to give yourself advice 10 years ago, all right, you're in your 60s, so let's go 50s. If you had to, if you were standing next to yourself 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so 10 years ago. Okay, so kind of thinking about, okay, so I was going to say, 10 years ago, I think 50, 60, because I'm 68, but like I don't think 68, I just think 60.
Oh my God, it just
So,
gets worse. I mean, not worse in a bad way. Oh my gosh. Everyone, again, if you're on this show listening, please go to the YouTube channel. That's you can put Mario P. Field Sergeant Major in front of that YouTube and it will pop up. Or you can look in the remarks on this show and click on the link to watch this video. Over to you, Barbara, who says she's 68, but I think she's lying.
Thank you. So where my mind went was, oh, well, when I was 50, I told you, I said, like, what's next? And
Mhm.
kind of leaned into, well, what haven't I done that I passionately wanted to do? And that was, actually finishing my college. I had dabbled in college at an associate's degree. So finishing my
Yeah.
bachelor's in human behavior, knowing I wanted to study psychology, knowing I had, all these years I had been following a path of more alternative, following a Reiki healing and other ways of, the how humans operate basically is fascinating to me. Anyway, but so my mind went there and I said, well, that wasn't really 10 years because I'm 68 now. So I was like, what happened at 58? But so that's where my math went. But it's a phase of life, right? That was a time that really started a phase of my life that has gone full circle into what's next.
Mm,
In this place, I find myself having put pieces together, my home here in Vermont, my community network of people, the different things I'm doing here, as well as my work with others, helping people know themselves. The Bold Timers has the same, theme that I and Heather has expressed. I really want people to know themselves to be able to thrive and be self-expressive, right? So
yeah.
I think if I go back then in that way, what really pops into my mind when I'm listening to me talk here is that I would tell myself to be even more self-aware in the process so that I'm driving along with what life is offering. I
Mm,
consider that co creation. right? So
Like it.
have opportunities, but keep being more and more in touch with how I'm growing, how I'm, who am I, and how is this responding, you know, in my inner world, who am I in this now? Because I think these last 10 years, I would have made some different decisions. Who knows how it would have went. But that self-awareness, so that co-creation piece, here's what's happening, here's the opportunities, and who am I in this? What's the opportunity? What's my heart telling me? Even stronger. um,
Mm.
and that is what I'm working at being more mindful of at this phase.
Yeah, mindfulness and self-awareness. I love how you talked about co-creation. Opportunities are going to come. Life is very complex, but not forgetting the core, and that is who am I, and having that self-awareness. And Heather, again, everyone get on a YouTube channel. Heather looks like she's like 28. It runs in the family. Heather, over to you. How about you?
Well, so 10 years ago, is that what the question was?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, well, I think I'm in a big moment of transition actually right now, and I'm on the verge of turning 49 in October 19th, so a few weeks away. And it feels like a big transition time for me. And as I was reflecting and listening to Barbara, I was thinking this is kind of a time where I'm thinking of blending all of the paths of my life up until now. So kind of bringing back forward some of the creativity pieces from the performing arts and things that I tapped into earlier in my life and maybe set aside for the past decade while I was focused on what does it mean to be a business coach and let me succeed over here doing this thing, right? And to tap back into that. So I've been doing this journey. I'm a president of a chapter of Toastmasters here where I live. And so I've been tapping into that, but that's been bringing forward more of this storytelling aspect. And I think that's part of my ancestry coming from Ireland and things like that as like that
Right.
storytelling aspect. So I think it's like kind of as the whole person, how do I digest all of these aspects of my life that have brought me to now? And I
Nice.
like what Barbara was saying about authenticity because I am most attracted to friends and people in my life who I think are most fully authentically
Mhm.
expressed, right? And I find that most attractive in other people because I want to be that version of myself as well in life. And I think that's one of the gifts of aging as well, is that we get to a place where we we hopefully have a peace with just being ourselves in the world and not
Amen.
having to apologize for who we are, but like celebrating who we are and expressing who we are more freely in the world. And that's definitely something I want to do as I step into, I'm not going to be 50 yet, but I'm getting closer to that decade. And I think that's what being 50 is all about for me.
That's cool. The mutual fund, I like the mutual fund. I'm taking Heather's like, all right, I got a lot of wisdom here, lots of experience. Happy early birthday, by the way.
Thank
But
you.
now I want to take this mutual fund of things, and I'm going to take it to where I'm authentic and be who you are, and be like you said, be comfortable with who you are, be proud of who you are. I mean, I'm 5'3" with a deep voice, and I'm super proud of that. It's a very odd combination, but ladies, it's been awesome to have you on the show. Before I let you all go and enjoy Vermont, if you will, how can people find you?
Oh, yeah, thanks for asking. Our website is empoweringleadershipteams.com. And on our website there, you can sign up for a discovery call, which is a great way to just hop on Zoom and meet with Barbara and I and see how we could help you. And you can also find us right on LinkedIn. And that's a good way to connect as well. So either way, and yeah, I think that's good. Did I miss anything, Barbara?
No, but I do love the invitation. If you go to our website, you can just click on, we have some calendar time for each of us separately in our calendars that is just set aside to have these kind of conversations together. That's the invitation. Let's have a Mario Fields conversation together. So please reach out and let's chat.
I like that, Barbara. I might have to change the whole. Hey, instead of the slogan, instead of discussions without armor, let's unarmored talk. Let's have a Mario P. Fields conversation. But you guys have been amazing, and lots of key points here for the audience. And one thing I would like to leave everyone with is they said community. Bow Timers as a community of thriving professionals of all backgrounds, and that's the key thing that connects us. Is we're thriving. It's not over. We're just beginning, and it doesn't matter what age you are. Every day is the first day. Got it? Until it's over. But until then, you guys have been great. Thank you so much, and everyone. Another episode will be coming out here shortly. Either a regular podcast production or a special Bow Timers Unarmored Talk collaboration. But until then, I will continue to intentionally pray for the listeners and the viewers, your friends, families, and you guys know the deal. If you have pets, all living beings around you, take care.